Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to my monthly wrap-up as well as my top 10 favorite games for the month of February. February was a very busy month. You guys might have seen on the channel that I had a lot of like crowdfunding previews and stuff, which I absolutely love filming, but they are a lot of work. But I'm very, very thankful that I had a lot of amazing opportunities in the last month or two to do a lot of really fun previews. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed those. But yeah, it's going to slow down a little bit in March and April, which I'm excited to get back to doing some like fun challenge videos and top 10s, and I will most likely be starting a top games of all time series sometime in the spring. I thought that the spring would be fun to like do a best games of all time for me personally because it's the garden, so we're going to be flourishing and we're going to be talking about my favorite games of all time in the spring, so that'll be fun. But anyways, today I'm going to be doing quite a few things. I want to mention that in the month of February, I did not play very many solo games. So I'm not going to be doing a Sowing solo for the month of February. I'm just going to include the few games that I did play solo in the month of February here in this video. So we're going to start with those. We're going to start going into Sowing solo. And then I'll go into, I still don't know what I'm going to name it. There were a few people that mentioned some really great titles for like my small box card game section of this video, so we'll get into that, and maybe I'll put a little thing here that says what I ultimately decided to call it, but we'll get into my favorite small box card games for the month. There were quite a few that I really enjoyed, and then we'll get into my top 10 favorite games in the month of February, which we have a lot of great ones. I actually only own 2 of them, which is crazy to me, but I'm really thankful that I get introduced to so many games by friends, so I don't necessarily have to own them all, which is great. But there are some of them on the list that I possibly want to get into the collection. So anyways, without further ado, if you guys want to see this monthly wrap up for February, if you want to see what I played solo, some awesome small box card games, as well as my top 10, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also hit the subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. And without further ado, let's get into all of this game chat, shall we? Also, you guys might hear my little floor heater because it is freezing down here in our basement, and I decided to wear my, which shout out to Bonzinator, I'm wearing her shirt here. It says, "What's up with all these victory points?" I really wanted to wear this t-shirt, but it's very cold down here, so I had to put on the heater. But anyways, let's get into my board game stats. Like I always mention in my videos, I use the BG Stats Board Game Stats app, which I will put the picture of right here if you want to go and check it out. The total amount of plays that I had in the month of February was 43 plays, so it's down 20 from last month, but that is okay. It was a total of 39 different games, and then I think about 25 of them were new to me, so that's a lot of new games, which I just want to say how thankful I am for getting so many opportunities to play new games. I feel like that's really fun. I do still get some opportunities to play games that I have already played in the past. I'm actually going to a convention this weekend, and me and my friends are planning on playing games that we have already played, replaying the ones that we have really enjoyed in the past. So I'm excited for that. But yes, that is the stats there. I will go and quickly check how many plays I had on BGA. So I had a total of 28 plays on BGA, and there's a few reasons why that is. One of them is because I've been playing a ton of a few different games, the Castles of Burgundy. I've been playing a lot of Lost Ruins of Arnak, as well as, what is that game called? The train game, Ticket to Ride. I've been playing a lot of that because I am, I guess, training for WSBG, so I think I am going to be going to WSBG this year, which I am super excited about. I've always wanted to attend, so I've been doing a little bit of training on there with some friends. I've also been playing a lot of River Valley Glassworks. They've kind of released a version on BGA because the Kickstarter or the crowdfunding campaign for River Valley Glassworks is going to be coming soon, so I've been playing just a lot of those 4 games specifically in the last month, so that's been really fun. But yes, that is everything for my BG stats. All right, so moving into the very few games that I got to the table solo this month or last month. There are 3 games that I played solo. 2 of them I played solo on stream, and then 1 of them I just have been playing a lot because it's just a small game. I took this to New Jersey with me when I went to Level Up, and that game is Numpsters. So this is a solo game by Button Shy Games, and it is designed by Milan Zvkovic, which I do believe I covered a game by them. I think it was Agueda, the like umbrella game. But anyways, this is Numpsters. It is a wonderful, wonderful card game that the best part of this is that you can play it in your hand. And basically you are just trying to get numbers on either side of the 8. So the 8 is going to be kind of the like thing that's going to allow you to have one card eat another card. So, because you know the whole saying, the 7, 8, 9 kind of thing. But you are wanting 2 subsequent numbers beside each other with the 8 in the center, and you are trying to get the cards to eat each other until you get to only having 2 cards left in your hand, 1 card, and then the 8. So it's just very interesting hand management game. You're also allowed to use specific abilities that are on the front card. So when you are holding them in your hand, whatever the card is that is at the front, you can use the ability on that if you don't have subsequent numbers. And at the beginning of each turn, you can take a card and move it to another spot, or you can switch 2 cards placements. I love the art on this one. I've talked about it, I think, before, but this is probably one of my favorite Button Shy games right now. Absolutely love it, and I am very happy that I do now have my own copy. I think when I was talking about it before, it was just when I played Alex from Board Game Co's copy, because he allowed me to try it out. But yes, that is Numpsters. That was the first game that I played solo in February. The next one that I played has been a roll and write game that I've had for probably almost close to a year now, and I finally got it to the table. It is the 3rd in a trilogy of games, and that is Motor City. So this is the 3rd in the Loaded Roll and Write series from the 3 different designers, Adam Hill, Ben Pinchback, and Matt Riddle, which actually, speaking of those 3 designers are the same people that designed River Valley Glassworks, so that's very cool. But yes, Motor City is the 3rd. The first one is Fleet the Dice Game, second one is Three Sisters, and then they now have Motor City. And then recently French Quarter just released as well, which I'm very excited to eventually try that one out as well. But in Motor City, I guess we're like the owners of a car manufacturer, and you are basically testing the cars, building the cars, doing like the production and different things. And I really like the dice drafting mechanism in this game. So in Three Sisters, they also had a kind of fun rondelle style dice drafting. In this one, you are actually rolling the dice and then placing it in this kind of grid of different actions. So depending on the color of the die and the number, the pip number, you're going to be placing it on specific actions. The number doesn't mean anything, it's just for the placement. But when you pick up a specific die, you're going to be doing whatever bonus is on that spot. You're going to be doing whatever the column action is. So there are a bunch of different parts of the roll and write. This is a pretty crunchy roll and write. So you have a bunch of different departments, I guess, in your car manufacturer, and each of them are going to allow you to do different things, go up different tracks, get different bonuses, very similar to Three Sisters Fleet Dice Game, where you are triggering different things, getting different bonuses, all of the things that I love in a good crunchy roll and write. But yeah, once you have done the action in that column, you're actually going to be able to take that die that you drafted, and you can actually place it onto one of the 4 actions. So you're gonna have that on your own board. So you're gonna take it off of the main board, you're gonna place it onto your own board, and then you can also perform that action there. And the one thing that I thought was very interesting about this one is the 4 like main action area spots that you can place a die on. You can actually make that action more like powerful and strong. You're actually going to be like upgrading those different actions. So whenever you take that action on a future turn, that action can become more strong and you can go up more spots on a track. So you're going to be spending your money in order to do these upgrades. You can then upgrade one, and then that'll allow you to, like, instead of going up one spot on a track when you use that action, you can actually go up 2 spots and then 3 spots as you upgrade those different actions, which I think was very cool. The solo in this is super simple. It is just taking specific dice from you. It's going to be scratching out certain spots on your board, much like in Three Sisters. Unfortunately, I do think that I still prefer Three Sisters over this one, just purely for the theme of it, which this one is still a fantastic game. I do think I like the dice drafting of this one more than Three Sisters, but I think just the theme of Three Sisters has me, and I don't really like the whole like car theme as much, but the gameplay of this one is just as good, if not better. So that is Motor City. It is published, I forgot to say, by Motor City Gameworks, and it's also distributed by 25th Century Games. So that is Motor City. Moving on to the last game that I played solo. I actually did a sponsored playthrough of this, so just take that into consideration, but I still wanted to talk about this one because when I upload this video, I'm thinking there might be a little bit of time left on this campaign. So this game right here is Everstone Discovering Ignis, and I want to say right now that this game surprised me very, very much. And you definitely need to go check it out if you have not already. I loved this game. I think this was my favorite of the month. I just loved it so much. I will put the link in the description box to the campaign. Like I said, I did do a sponsored playthrough of this, but even if I didn't have that, I would still be shouting from the rooftops about this game because I genuinely really enjoyed it. It is like an engine builder and tableau builder. I've been discovering more and more recently that I absolutely love tableau building, and in this one it is like the ultimate tableau builder where you're going to be kind of creating your, I think it's like your caravan, where you're going to be able to have a different caravan every single game depending on the cards that you add to that caravan, and there's just like different ways of getting victory points, and it has very similar aspects to like a scythe kind of thing where you have these different goals at the top. And there's just something, I've said this before, there's something about going for different goals that just, ooh, if a game has quests, if a game has like goals that I'm going for, I freaking love it. It's like checking off things on a checklist. It just makes me so happy. So in this one, you do have those like public objectives that you're trying to go for. Those are going to get you points. You have your own personal quests that you're going for, and those are going to get you points. And this is ultimately a race to 10 points. So whoever gets to 10 points first. I believe in the multiplayer game, which I will say I haven't played the multiplayer game yet, but in a multiplayer game, whoever gets to 10 first triggers the end of the game. Every other player gets a turn. But the solo play is super easy. You basically have like a AI board that at the end of each of your turns, you're going to be moving over a chip, and that chip is going to be doing different actions. And then once you get through all of the chips, then one of the chips gets discarded and placed onto a certain thing, depending on what AI you are going against. So each of the AIs are going to be kind of focusing on something different, which I think is very cool. Very similar to the solo mode in Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Each of the different solo mode boards, the AI is kind of focusing on something different. It's very similar in this game, and like I said, the AI is really easy to play and keep track of, and it doesn't take too much away from what you are doing on your turn. So yeah, Everstone Discovering Ignis, go check it out if you have not already. There should be like a day or two left of the campaign when this video goes up, so go and check it out if you are interested. But yeah, it was definitely one of my favorites of the month, and it very much surprised me when I played it on stream. So yeah. All right, so those were the games that I played solo in the month of February. Like I said, I didn't really have a lot of time, sadly, to like sit down and play games like I wanted to, but that's okay. I was busy doing other things that I absolutely love, which is filming and editing and all those things. But let's get into my little small box part of this video. I will put up the title here, but it's something along the lines of like potted plants, you know? You have your big garden outside, but you also have your cute little, I don't know, kitchen windowsill herb garden. So I don't know what I'm gonna call this, but you guys will see it here. But anyways, moving on to the 4 games that I played, or 4 small box games that I played in the month of February. These were some of my favorites. I absolutely loved them. 2 of them, I believe, are trick-taking games and the other 2 are not. Let's quickly get into the 2 trick-taking games, which I do not have either of them, but I want both of them. The first one is a game that is not out yet, and I freaking loved this game. I think I actually played this on the 1st of February. I played this at a bar with Grant Lyon, as well as Devin from Devin Talks Tabletop, as well as, I believe it was James. We played a 4-player game of Xylotar, which is a trick-taking game that is coming from Bezier Games. And looking at all of the games that Bezier is coming out with this year, they said it's their year of card games, which makes me so excited because I love card games. I love trick-taking games, and them focusing on like card games this year makes me very happy. But Xylotar, I'm sure you guys have seen the cover. It's like a polar bear, but basically it's like each player has a row of cards in front of them. The cards are not your standard like card shape. They're actually like smaller, thinner rectangled cards, and they are going to be colored on the back with different number like zones. So a card could be a red 1 to 3 or a blue 7 to 12, different things like that. So you don't actually know what cards, what numbered cards you're getting. You only actually see the kind of range that they could be. Each player is going to start with a hand of cards. They are going to arrange them in ascending order, so they're going to be looking at the numbers, but then they're actually going to be giving that hand of cards to the player on either their left or their right. So each player is going to know what one other player has, but not necessarily what they have. And basically you're going to be playing out these tricks kind of blindly, hoping that the things that you are playing down are going to allow you to win these tricks, because ultimately you're trying to win as many tricks as possible. You can actually at some point use one of your cards to kind of make a bid at how many tricks you think you're going to win, and that will, if you are able to match that number, that will get you more victory points. But yeah, it's this very interesting kind of mix between trick-taking and deduction, because you're going to be obviously having to follow suit, so you're going to have to follow a number, but you're going to be taking a number from your line, which is going to be in ascending order. So you're going to be taking a color, so let's say someone started with yellow. You'd have to look at your range of cards, look at the ones that were yellow, and then play out one, and then that will actually allow you to get some information on the rest of your cards in the row, because if you flip over a yellow 6, you know that everything to the left of that card is going to be higher than a 6, or they could be, you know, a 6 or higher, and then everything to the right is going to be lower. So very cool mix of trick-taking and deduction, which I absolutely love deduction games as well. So Xylotar is one that I'm very excited to play again. I was hoping to be able to play it again with Grant. He was the one that brought it to Level Up, but unfortunately we didn't get a chance to do that. But yes, definitely one that I am, right when it comes to retail, going to be purchasing or reaching out to get a review copy of, because I'd love to talk about it more on the channel, because I really enjoyed my first play of it. So that's the first one, the first trick-taking game. I also played 9 Lives, which 9 Lives is a trick-taking game as well from Allplay. And this was one of their, like, I think ones that came out last year or the year before, so it's not one of their like newest trick-taking games, but it was a cat-themed trick-taking game, and we had a cat-themed board game night with this like board game gals group that I get together with. So my friend Steph brought 9 Lives, and it is a fantastic trick-taking game. I will say it doesn't do anything like insanely different, but the cool thing about this one is, again, you have the colors on the back. So other players, you can actually see the colors that they have. The one thing that I've seen in other trick-taking games that it does is at the beginning of the round, you're going to be looking at your cards and you're going to have to kind of bet or estimate how many tricks you're going to win based off of your hand. Obviously everyone can see the backs of every other player's hand, so you can't see the numbers that they have, but you can see the suits that they have. The red suit is always going to be trump, so you can kind of see throughout all of the players who has a lot of the trumps and different things like that. In turn order, you're going to be placing down your cat on this rug, so you can either place your cat this way or this way. This way allows you to kind of bet 2 different numbers, but this way you can only bet 1 number, but if you do still get to that number, you get more victory points. So you could bet that you get, you know, 1 of 2 numbers, you get less victory points, but if you're like really confident, you actually can bet like that specific number. So very interesting. I really like being able to see the back of the cards. It kind of brings a different element where you can kind of see what other people could play and what they have left in their hand when it's getting closer to the end of the rounds. So that is 9 lives. The next one is actually one that I am going to be getting a copy of. I'm actually picking up a copy of it at this local game convention that I'm going to this weekend. But that game is Mind Up. Mind Up is a very fun game. It doesn't really have a lot of strategy to it because you are basically going to have a hand of cards and then this tableau in front of you of 5 different columns that you're going to be creating with the different colors of cards. So cards are going to have a color and a number, and you're going to be placing down a card in front of you, and that is going to be what card you're going to draft, because there's going to be cards out. Everyone is going to pick a card from their hand and play it in front of them, and then those cards are going to be played in ascending order, and those are going to then be the cards that you take and put into your tableau. So if you wanted the far right card or far left card, you might play a really low number to hope that you get the far left card, but then you don't know the numbers that everyone else is playing, so you would think that you'd be playing the lowest number, but then other people might actually play even lower numbers than you did. So it's this very interesting kind of playing down cards, taking cards, putting that color into a column. And the thing with the columns is that each of the columns is going to have each of the cards in that column being a different amount of victory points at the end of the game. So when you take a card, you have to put it into the left column, and then every other card of that color that you get has to go into that column. So if you get a new color, you would then put it into the next column. If you got another new color, you'd put it into the next column. If you got one of the same colors, you'd put it into the same column. So you're trying to get more of the color of the column that gets you 5 victory points for each card. So you're trying to kind of map it out, what cards you think you're going to get a lot of, different things like that. Really enjoyed it. That is Mind Up, and I'm very excited to be getting a copy so I can introduce it to more people. And then the last card game for the month of February that I was introduced to. I was introduced to this and then I immediately went and bought my own copy. But this is a game that I've heard a lot of people talk about, and it's a very interesting, very unique game. Again, a little bit of like a set collection, tableau building game. It used to be called Wind the Film, but it is now, I guess, in North America called Photograph. So I did pick this one up, and I really enjoyed this one. I've heard a few people talk about it before. I think Dwayne and Alicia from Blackboard Gaming, they've talked about this quite a bit. But yes, it's a very interesting game where the cards that you get in your hand have to stay in a specific order, and then you're going to be drafting cards from the middle. They are going to be, some of them are going to be face up, so you're going to be able to see the number, but some of them are going to be face down, kind of similar to Xylotar actually, where you can see the color of the card and like the range of what the number could be, but you don't know exactly what the number is, and you're going to be drafting those cards. You're either going to draft from the left side or the right side, and then you're going to say how many cards you want. So I could say I want this row, and I'm going to draft the 2 from the left. So I would take the first one, put it into my hand, take the second one, put it into my hand. The order of the cards matters very, very much, so you have to keep them in the order that you draft them. And then you're going to get a chance to wind the film. So that's basically that you are taking one of the cards, moving it, I think it's either back or forward. Again, I've only played this once so far, and it's a very brain-burny game, but you're going to be moving one number, and then you have to play as many cards down as you drafted. So if you only want to play one card down, you can only draft one card, and then you have to place them in ascending order or descending order in the different colored piles. So if you are not able to do that, so if you have cards going in ascending order, but then you have a card that would be descending in a color, you couldn't place that down. You'd have to actually place it down face down, and that actually gets you negative points. Once you have played a certain amount into each of the colors, one person, the first person to play a certain amount, gets that colored card, and that's going to get you victory points. I'm doing an awful job explaining it, but Photograph is very fun. It's very unique, a great little card game, and I will probably be bringing this to a game night tomorrow, and I'll probably bring it to my local convention, but that is Photograph. All right, so finally, let's get into my top 10 games of February. This video I feel like is already going to be long, so I'm going to try to get through these 10 pretty quick. But number 10 is Cryptid. So Cryptid is a deduction game that I've been wanting to try for a very long time. It was always that one deduction game that I had never played before. It has been around for a little bit, and I feel like it's one of those classic deduction games that you should play if you really enjoy deduction games, and I really enjoyed it. I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. I still really enjoyed it. I think I've played just so many great deduction games that this one was good, but not as good as others that I have played in the past. But yeah, you're basically just trying to figure out where the cryptid is on this kind of hexagon board, and each person is going to get a specific kind of rule, but they're going to be keeping it to themselves, and you're going to, on your turn, be asking another player if the cryptid could be here, and judging by their rule that they know, they can either put down a cube to say no, that the cryptid cannot be there because it kind of goes against their rule, or they could put down one of their circular tokens to denote that yes, it could be there. So it's this very interesting puzzle. It hurt my brain very, very much, but it was fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm not very good at it. I feel like it was a little bit too deduction-y for me, like my brain was hurting by the end of it, and I definitely did not win, and I definitely could not see myself winning that anytime soon, but I really enjoyed it. It was a good one, and I'm happy that I finally got to try Cryptid, so that is my number 10, that is Cryptid. Moving on to number 9, this is a game called First in Flight. This is a game by, I think it's Genius Games, which they are the publisher of Genotype, which I really enjoy. And First in Flight is one of their newest releases that I've been wanting to try. And it is a little bit of a push your luck game. It also has a little bit of deck building, because you're building up this deck of flight cards that you're then going to be flipping over until you want to stop. So that's where the push your luck comes into play. And you are trying to ultimately get your plane to fly as far as possible by flipping out these cards. Eventually, if you do get, I think it's 3 damage cards, then you have a crash landing. But I really enjoyed, there's this part of the game where you're going around this rondelle, and it has that mechanism where you can go as far as you want, but it's always going to be the last person going forward around this rondelle. And I really love those, or that mechanism in games, so I loved that. Building up my kind of deck, I went for, there's this specific card where you're kind of just down, kind of coasting, I guess. But those only allow you to move 1 space when you flip over that card. So you're not getting very far with those cards, but I took that strategy where I just got a ton of those, which allowed me to then eventually put cards out for such a long time that I think I ended up winning First in Flight, so that was a lot of fun. But it was very fun. It was a good one. It's very pretty too, and there are additionally some other cards that you can add that give you some one-time abilities and stuff when you are going for a flight. Yeah, very fun. Moving into the next game, this is a game that I played with my friends Aiden and Tyler, and this is Smartphone Inc., which is one that I've heard of multiple times, and I've always been interested in it. When Aiden was setting it up, it looks very bland on the table, I will say that, but I think that is kind of what they're going for. It's very technological, very like techie, I guess, in a way. But the fun part of Smartphone Inc. is that you have these like tiles that at the beginning of each round, you're going to be kind of placing these tiles in different ways, covering up certain things in order to determine the actions that you're playing on that round. So you can kind of cover up some different icons if you don't want those. You can like buy more tiles to then be able to put onto your board of tiles in order to get more of a specific action. And then however many you cover up, you get additional like goods for that. I can't exactly remember exactly how like it plays, but basically you are putting out these little like stair step pieces onto different spots in order to kind of get these different technologies. So there's like wireless, there's gaming, there's like locations, like different things that you're going to be like adding on to your cell phones, I guess. And then there's a map in the center where I guess you are going to be building these buildings that are where you are producing your cell phones, maybe something like that. It's interesting. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it is my number 8. Again, I've only played it once, but I did enjoy my play of it. So that is why it is my number 8. That is Smartphone Inc. Moving on to my number 7. This is such a push your luck game, and it is ridiculous, but it is so much fun, and I'm happy that I did play it finally in person. I played this a few times on BGA, but this is a game that you don't play it on BGA. It's very confusing on BGA. But that game is Millennium Space Agency, which is basically cats in space. A very fun game. Like I said, it's like push your luck. I guess it's a little bit like semi-cooperative as well, but basically at the beginning of each round, each player is going to be putting one of their astronaut cats onto a spaceship, and each of those cats are going to kind of do different things. So there's going to be cats that if you land on a moon with that cat, it's going to get you double points for that moon. If you land on a planet with that cat, it's going to get you double points for that planet. Some of them are going to allow you to kind of parachute. If the spaceship crashes, you can parachute to the nearest thing. There's like different types of cats that you can put on that allow you to do different things on these different expeditions that you're going on. But it is a push your luck game where you are going to be rolling these dice, going up this kind of galaxy track, and each spot, so each time you're rolling the dice, it's going to be looking for specific dice numbers, and then whatever dice numbers you choose, you do have to discard them. So unless you choose the like fireballs, if you choose the fireballs, those let you go up a few times, but you don't have to discard them. But yes, you're trying to just land on these different planets, which are going to be area majority. You're going to be stopping on these different moons as well, and then ultimately trying to get all the way up to the top, which is open space, I think. I did not make it to open space, sadly, but it's very fun, or deep space. It's not too serious. It's those types of games where you like can't take it too seriously. But I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, wouldn't recommend playing it on BGA because it's a little bit, unless you're playing it in real time. But if you're playing it async, it's a little bit weird because like the one person that's like the commander that's rolling the dice, you just come back to the game and they've already rolled the dice, and then it's just like asking you, hey, do you want to stop at this planet? You say no, and then they have to continue rolling the dice, but you're like gone for a few days. It's very weird. So don't recommend playing it on BGA, but I definitely recommend playing it in person. That is Millennium Space Agency. Moving on to number 6. This is a big game that I played at Level Up at the beginning of the month, and this is one that I've been wanting to play for a while, and that is Rococo. I feel like I always say that wrong, but Rococo, there we go, not Rococo. So Rococo is a game from Eagle Gryphon Games that I've been wanting to try for a while. It is beautiful, and it is an interesting game where there's a little bit of like hand management, or like a little bit of like deck building in a way, where you're going to be placing down cards, and those are going to allow you to do different actions, and you can actually like hire new staff, which are going to be cards that you can put into your hand to then do like stronger actions, different things like that. But you're going to be getting material, you're going to be making like fancy dresses, and then placing those into different rooms for area majority. And then there are other ways that you can get victory points, but ultimately you're just trying to make those dresses, put them into those different rooms. Like I said, it is an absolutely gorgeous game. It's definitely a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Whenever I saw Rococo, I thought it was going to be like a pretty heavy game because I think you just see that size box. It's like the same size box as a Lacerda game, so you automatically think it's like this super heavy Lacerda size game, but Rococo is definitely not a Lacerda game. It is a lot easier. It is very, very satisfying, and it has like a lot of player interaction with the area majority and stuff like that, so I've really enjoyed that. Recently, more player interaction, so that is why Rococo is my number 6. Moving on to number 5, this was a game that I heard of from Jamie from Foster the Meeple. She absolutely loved this game. I'm pretty sure this was her favorite game of 2023, and that is Hooky. So when I saw Jamie at Level Up at the beginning of the month, I asked her if we could play Hooky. She did bring it, so we played Hooky, Jamie, myself, and my friend Aiden, and I loved this game, and I definitely want to get it into the collection. I'll probably be looking for it at the like bring and buy that I'm going to this weekend, so I'll see if I can find it there. Yeah, Hooky is very fun. It is a deduction game again, and I will say I did enjoy this one more than Cryptid, obviously, because Cryptid was number 10, but Hooky is fun because it kind of meshes together a word game and a deduction game, and you are ultimately trying to figure out what kids are playing Hooky, and each kid is represented by a letter in the alphabet. Each player starts or has some cards of the letters that they have, and on your turn you're going to be writing out a 5-letter word and then asking another player how many letters they have in that word. They would then look at the cards that they had in their hand, all of the letters that they have or the kids that they have, and then they would tell you how many letters they had from that word. If that word had 2 of the same letters, obviously that would count as, you know, 2 that they had in that word, but again, it's this deduction game of trying to figure out what letters each player has, and then kind of deducing those and figuring out what kids are playing Hooky or what letters are playing Hooky. Absolutely love this game, and like I said, I do want to grab my own copy of it, so that is my number 5, that is Hooky. All right, so moving into the 2 that I actually have copies of, my number 4 and my number 3 I do have copies of. So number 4 is a game that really surprised me. The theme of this, you guys will see, it's definitely not a theme that I typically go for. It is a space theme, but I will say that the art in this and just the look of this game really makes me happy. But this was a big surprise to me because I looked at it, you know, the theme is definitely not something that I enjoy, but the gameplay of this is so much fun. It's pretty simple, straightforward, like card drafting game, but I loved it. And that is Age of Wonders Planetfall. I've just been calling it Planetfall, but it is technically Age of Wonders Planetfall. But like I said, this is a pretty straightforward, like card drafting game, but it implements some interesting things into the gameplay that make it a lot of fun and just a little bit unique to other ones. Basically, you're going to have different rows of cards, and you're going to be placing your spaceship onto a card that you want to draft, and depending on which row you go in, that is going to determine how much you have to pay for that card, but it's also going to determine the player order for the next round. So the higher on the levels that you actually place your spaceship, the sooner in turn order you're going to be able to go on the next round. So you might actually purposely get one card that you don't really want in order to make sure that you go sooner in player order on the next round, which I really enjoy. There's a bunch of different cards that are going to be doing different things. You're going to be fighting different enemies. You're going to be gaining energy and gaining resources in different ways. You're going to be getting these different buildings that are going to allow you to do a little bit of set collection, different things like that. Overall, pretty simple game, but I really love the small things that they implemented into the game that have made it unique, and I loved the gameplay of this. So that is my number 4. That is Age of Wonders Planetfall. All right, so moving into number 3. The moment I saw this one be released, I knew I was at least going to enjoy it because I do enjoy the other game that came before this, but the game that I'm talking about is Wormspan. So Wormspan is they say it's a Wingspan game. So it does play a little bit similar to Wingspan, but it also does offer some very different things to Wingspan, which I really like. I also really enjoy the dragon theme of this. And I'm also obsessed with the art in this. I know I did see that some people didn't love the art in this, but personally, I love the art. I love the boards. I love the whole like watercolored pastel kind of vibe to it. I also love the like dragon art on all of the different cards. Some of the dragons are absolutely beautiful and some of them are adorable. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I do think that now that this one is out, I think I actually prefer Wormspan over Wingspan. I like having those like different things added. There is the added, like you have to put a cave card down in order to then put a dragon down. You also do have not a set amount of actions that you do each round. So in Wingspan, everyone starts with the same amount. You all play through those cubes, those different actions, and then on the next round you have one less, and on the next round you have one less. But in this one, there's actually different ways to either spend more of your actions to do different things or gain more actions, either by like certain dragons or the different caves. So I really enjoy that variable where you can actually like change up the different amounts of actions that you have on a round instead of just having those same amount of actions each and every round. Or in those specific rounds in Wingspan. There's also the guild track in Wormspan, which I really like. You're basically just going up a track and getting benefits. And also the main thing is I like the difference in gaining the different resources. So in Wingspan, you do have the dice rolling, which I always thought was a little bit frustrating in Wingspan because I was always trying to find very specific resources, and just sometimes you just can't get what you want. Fortunately in Wingspan you can like use the 2 of any resource to gain another resource of your choice, so you do have that. But I find in Wormspan it's a little bit, it's still challenging in order to get those resources because you do have to do like the explore action of going on that kind of adventure along your different rows. But at the same time, it makes it a little bit more, you feel like you're in more control of getting your resources, whereas in Wingspan, I always thought that it was just like, you know, it is random. You're rolling dice into a bird feeder, so it's very random, and sometimes it just like didn't work out in your favor, but yeah, in this one, it makes it a little bit more interesting, and you are like collecting those different cave cards, which then allow you to get resources in different ways with those, and doing the adventures, like I said. So yeah, really enjoyed Wormspan. I do think I personally enjoy it a little bit more than Wingspan. So yeah, I will be most likely playing this solo on a live stream at some point. But yeah, that is Wormspan, my number 3. Moving into number 2, this is a game that I briefly chatted about on my favorite heavy 2023 releases. This was one that I played a little bit later. I did not play it in 2023, but I played it a little bit into 2024. And I only played it once, and it was in February, and that's why it wasn't on my top 10 heavier games of 2023, because I only played it once, and I, on that list, wanted to play games more than, you know, 2 or 3 times in order to put them onto the list. So my number 2 for February is Age of Innovation. I played this earlier on in the month of February and really enjoyed it. As someone that has never played any of the Terra Mystica games, I've never played Terra Mystica, I've never played Gaia Project, I've never played Terra Nova either, which is like the more simple version of Terra Mystica. So Age of Innovation was my like first game into that world, and the things that are going on in that game just make my heart so happy. There's going up tracks, there's like getting different special abilities on these tiles, you're putting out and terraforming these different hexagon spaces on the board, and then adding your buildings into those spaces. The more buildings that you put out, the more victory points you're going to get in different ways, and then also the more income you're going to get each round, which I really enjoy. And then also there's this very cool mechanism with this like 3 space thing where you're gonna have these little like, I don't know what the theme in it is, but they're like, I guess like magic. I guess you're like charging the magic, putting them into the 3rd section, which then you can spend those in order to do various actions. And then once you have spent them, you have to get them all the way around to that space again. So it's this like continuous circle of like magic being charged and then spent and then charged and then spent, I guess. I'm totally making that up. It might not even be magic, but yeah, another thing that I really enjoyed about it is that you can mix and match the different terrain type that you are. So in my situation, I was the desert terrain, which gives you like some sort of special ability, and then you also do have to build only on that desert terrain, or you obviously can terraform a terrain into desert in order to build on it. So yeah, really liked that. And then I was like a certain faction, I forget what I was, but I was like the desert something, desert lizards or something like that. But you can mix and match these various factions with these various terrain types, and it's just such a fun game, and I'm looking forward very, very much to playing it again. Hopefully, maybe this weekend we might play it. Like I said, this convention that we're going to, we're trying to play games again that we've already played, so maybe Age of Innovation will hit the table again this weekend, but that is my number 2, Age of Innovation. And then lastly, moving into my number 1 game for the month of February. This is a game that me and my friends have been trying to play for so long. We have made various game days saying the game that we are going to play, the big game that we're going to play on this game day is Anachrony, and we just kept on putting it off and just not having time to play it, and we finally eventually played Anachrony in February, and I absolutely loved it. It is primarily like a worker placement game, but there are so many more things going on with it. You have your various workers that you're going to be able to use with these mechs. So you do have these like mechs that you're like placing the workers into and then placing them onto a worker placement spot. There's like some like time travel track, which I think is very cool and very interesting. And I feel like I didn't use it to its best ability, but basically what's going to happen is you're going to be able to place these tiles onto these time travel tiles, and you're going to be able to borrow these resources, but then by the end of the game, you have to purposely actually like go back in time and pay off these resources, which I think is very cool and very unique. I haven't really ever like borrowed resources and then had to pay them back in a game that I can remember, so that was fun. I feel like I didn't use it enough. I feel like the best Anachrony players probably use that borrowing and paying off of resources really well, which I think playing more I will get better at, but I thought that was very fun. And then also, like I said, it is a worker placement, but the specific workers that you do use allow you to have like benefits when going to specific spots. And then also once you get to a certain point in the game, all of the worker placement spots have like other bonuses placed on them, and then they're actually like only able to be used once, and then it gets flipped over and blocked, which I thought was cool. So the last few rounds you're kind of using these worker placement spots and they're all getting flipped over and blocked, so you have less and less worker placement spots to go to by the end. On your board you have this like tableau building, which I mentioned. Tableau building is very quickly becoming one of my favorite things in games, but you can put these tiles onto this tableau that you're then going to be able to use in various ways by placing workers onto your tableau to get like different resources and victory points in different ways. But the workers then go into like a sleeping area, and then you eventually have to like wake them up, and you can wake up your workers in a mean way, where you just like yell at them and wake them up, or you can wake them up by like spending water in a good way, and that actually pushes your track up in the positive direction instead of when you wake them up very mean and yelling at them, that pushes the track in the other direction, which if you're like low on that track at the end of the game, you get negative victory points. But yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed Anachrony. It was definitely one that like we wanted to play for so long, and we were so excited to play it, and then we finally got to play it, and it was a really, really good one. So that is why Anachrony is my number 1 game that I played in the month of February. All right, friends, so that is going to be everything for today's video. Like I said, this is probably going to be a pretty long video, so if you're still here watching, thank you so much for hanging out and sticking through the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.